I'll look in the closet later and see if we have another piece.
You think there might be one?
Well, I think we cut it off because we had a walnut.
Oh, well, that would be good news. Yeah.
I
So I might be able to string it in there. And no, we got only 3 minutes. Can I ask Kevin, is the lighting going to be better or worse for your Facebook?
I think this will be fine.
Okay, all right.
Oh, there you go. I could learn from you. So I pull that way. I should have done that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're a little short-handed today, so I'm sure you at home noticed that I was staring into the video screen. I'm going to be the minister for the day and the musician, but I'm also the AV person as well. So thank you a lot for joining today. My name is Kevin Rieger, and I'm really excited to be here. This is our second service in person, and we have about 15 people here. Everybody's doing their social distancing, so and everybody's wearing a mask except for me. So we hope that you may feel safe enough to come sometime in the future, but if not, continue watching on our Facebook page or on our web page. So let's begin with our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotence. We have an affirmation for our center. Thank you, God, that we have come to this place to release the past, celebrate the present, and embrace the future in love, peace, harmony, and prosperity. So we would like to offer up a prayer today. So please join with me in praying for all those that are affected by the coronavirus today, both physically, financially, emotionally. Please help us to get through our problems with social distancing and missing our friends and the touch of our friends. Please strengthen us in our resolve that we might move through this epidemic and on to the other side where things return to more normalcy. I'd also like to pray for our country right now as we begin to truly awaken to the amount of work we need to do to provide equality for all in this country. And let's pray for those that feel a country divided. Let's pray that we can see a way back to unity and back to oneness. And pray for productive dialogue, productive marches, and productive action on the side of our government and our institutions throughout our society. Amen. Okay, it is July, and so the 12 powers of the year, understanding is the power for July. The ability to know, perceive, and comprehend and apprehend. The disciple is Thomas, and Thomas represents the ability to see beyond appearances to reality. So I'm not sure if we have someone to read the daily word today. Oh, Joanne, would you be willing to do so? Yes, it is. It's turned to the right page. Here's Joanne Bauman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today's message is about comfort. The Christ in me is my comfort. Experiences that move me out of my comfort zone are part of my life. The first day at a new school, starting or leaving a job, a new phase in a relationship, retiring from a career, the passing of a loved one. Any change can evoke discomfort, even grief. I grieve when I think of change as loss of security, loss of my place in the community, or loss of love. The Christ, the divine presence of life, love, and wisdom within me, is my constant source of comfort through all of life's changes. I find assurance that although its physical expressions may change, life can never end. I know oneness and love with all who have been dear to me. Recognizing my divine nature, I know that there is no loss, change, or circumstance that can limit me, and I am comforted. And from Psalms chapter 71, verse 21, it says, "You will increase my honor and comfort me once again," so that we can be sure of. And so it is.
Thanks. Okay, I have a song that I wanted to share with you. Reverend Mary started off her lesson last week with a statement that just caught my attention, and I decided to turn it into a little song. It's called I Can't Lift 1,000 Pounds. I can't lift 1,000 pounds, that's preposterous. But if I lift a pound each time, I'll get there soon enough. And I might be a long, long way from the man I want to be. But if I take a step today, I'll arrive eventually. If I don't give up, and I don't give in, today's the day we're all called to begin. If 1,000 pounds seems a tall, tall task and you're tempted to delay, just lift that first pound off the floor and you'll be on your way. I can't lift 1,000 pounds, I guess you know that's true. But if we work together, I'll succeed with all of you. It's a funny thing, when we're alone, we can feel kind of small. But if we're brave enough to reach out, we'll succeed after all. If we don't give up, and we don't give in, today's the day we're all called to begin. If 1,000 pounds seems a tall, tall task and you're tempted to delay, just lift that first pound off the floor, we'll be on our way. I can't lift 1,000 pounds, I'm puny, can't you see? But if I lift a pound each time, I'll bulk up wait and see. And I might be a long, long way from the man I want to be. But I'll get there with all your help, so come along with me. Don't give up, and don't give in. Today's the day we're all called to begin. And 1,000 pounds seems a tall task, and we're tempted to delay. Just lift that first pound off the floor, and we'll be on our way. Thank you. Okay, my talk today is called Fruits of the Spirit. Let's see if I get up here a little closer. I think we're still okay. Okay, I saw a sign in a window the other day. It was an announcement for a program. It said, today's seminar, Manifesting Your Dreams by Just Lying There. Sold out. So, you know, that's human nature. We all want things, but we don't necessarily want to take the steps to achieve them. And it always takes a step. I mean, just think about dieting. The first thing we do when we diet is we start to obsess about all the things that we can no longer have. There's no more ice cream. There's no more chips and dip. You know, there's no more cheeseburgers and French fries. And then all we feel is this loss, you know. But if we can turn that around and actually use this energy to find new recipes, new foods, things that we might find out that there's recipes we never tried before that we really do like, that we really look forward to eating. You know, you lose, some people are shaking their heads. It hasn't worked for them. Well, okay. Anyways, the whole idea is that, you know, if we can start to make a change, we never know where that change will lead, and hopefully it will lead somewhere good. There's been a very interesting change in the corporate world over the last 10 or 15 years. I remember it used to be an annual thing where they asked every employee to identify 2 or 3 weaknesses they have, and then to create a development plan for how they were going to overcome those weaknesses and improve those weaknesses over the coming year. But about 5 or 10 years ago, that changed. And there was a realization that focusing on your weaknesses doesn't really make you stronger. It just makes you weaker. They're weaknesses for a reason. What we can really do to benefit the most is to focus on our strengths. Because when we focus on our strengths and devote as much time as possible to those, we really excel. That's where our creative juices are flowing. That's where we're really excited about that next project or that next step, that next day. That's where time just seems to disappear because we're just so involved in what we're doing. So I never realized until I was thinking about this that going through my Facebook feed is one of my greatest strengths, because the whole day just whizzes right by. But, well, that's really not what I was talking about, though. This is a very long introduction to the topic of fruits of the Spirit. They were identified by Paul as the following, and this was from a letter to the Galatians: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, and mercy. So what I'm hoping is that if we look at some of these fruits of the Spirit and see the ones that are calling us, that we can grow these aspects in our lives, and they'll turn into the strengths that we really enjoy, that really drive our enthusiasm and our actions and our thoughts. So that's what I'm hoping we'll get out of this today. So I just have a few words about each one of these fruits of the Spirit, and I hope that you'll hear something that calls to you, something that you can consider as you think your way through your next situation, or you take the next action of your life on whatever you're encountering. So the first is love. And love is the ability to see the goodness in others It's the ability also to accept less than perfection. That you don't have to try to change someone. You're not constantly frustrated because they don't do exactly what you would like them to do. So we need to be able to even see the good intentions in others, even though they may not be acting in the way that we would. You know, Jesus said that the first commandment is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. But the second commandment is like it, and that is love your neighbor as yourself. So by loving those we find in our lives, we really are honoring God, and we're really touching God, because God is in the world today through each of our presences. So forgiveness is another aspect of this, because if you're unable to forgive, you're really unable to love completely. I mean, think of the prodigal son, where he was so ashamed of what he had done, he felt he was unworthy of love, and yet his father welcomed him back with open arms and a celebration. I mean, we need to be able to have that aspect of forgiveness in our own lives. I mean, remember, Jesus even put forgiveness in the Lord's Prayer. You know, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive our trespassers. Now, I've always read that to mean that we can be forgiven by God to the extent that we're able to forgive others. Because if we're unable to see that forgiveness in other people, we're really unable to envision it for ourselves as well. So it's important to think about forgiveness. I mean, how much do we want to be forgiven? We need to try to bring that understanding and patience into our relationships with others as well. So this also ties into mercy, which is one of the fruits of the Spirit. You know, God expects mercy from us, not sacrifice. And he gives us mercy to the extent that we can practice mercy. So, in fact, one of the Beatitudes is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. So the last thing I wanted to say about forgiveness and mercy is that these are good for your health, because if we harbor resentments and we harbor anger, our digestive systems don't work right, our circulatory system doesn't work right. We have hormones that are coursing through our body that are unhelpful for us, and the healthiest thing we can do is to live with mercy and forgiveness, and our body should reflect that in our health. So, goodness is another one of these fruits. Goodness as a virtue is its own reward. I really tend to think of goodness as being godliness in action. So it's godliness lived in our daily lives. So we need to have the strength to live our convictions, to know what we know, or to do what we know is right. We can become lights to those that are wandering. We can help them along the way. In the Shepherd Psalm, it says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So I guess the first step is that we need to be dwelling in the house of the Lord. And to me, that comes down to becoming settled and peaceful and meditative. So there's also an interesting word in this list, and that's gentleness. So gentleness is actually being a strong, it's really a strength. It's not a weakness. You're showing gentleness in your strength because by being confident, you can afford to be gentle. So the Proverbs say, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So sometimes we can really diffuse a situation by using a gentle approach, which feels more reasonable, which allows the other person to feel that they're heard, to allow the other person to feel that you actually consider them as a human being, as opposed to beating them over the head. So Galatians even says, brethren, this is chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, even if anyone is caught in a trespass, you who are spiritual restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. So I like that. A spirit of gentleness is how you can restore others to move along the right path. So kindness is related to this. There's a saying that I just love that says, choose being kind over being right, and you will be right every time. And there's a lot of wisdom to that. How many times do we forget about being kind because we want to show that we're right? And there are times when you need to tell people what the truth is, but there are other times where you really don't need to show that you're right. You really can be kind. So loving kindness is even one of the 10 perfections of Buddhism. There's even a meditation in Buddhism about learning to become kind through loving kindness, where you sit and visualize yourself and feel yourself being bathed in loving kindness. Feel yourself being deserving of loving kindness. And then if you can achieve that, it says, envision one of your friends and see them bathed in loving kindness. And if you can achieve that, just try to take a stranger and show loving kindness to them and feel that attribute, that loving kindness for them. And if you get that far, you can try to visualize an enemy or someone that you have a problem with and do the same thing with them. And if you can get that far, you try to envision loving kindness for the whole world with all its strengths and all its faults. So that's a meditation we can probably work on the rest of our lives, because I don't think there's any way we're going to get it. Not achieve it perfectly in any event. So faith is the next fruit that I wanted to talk about. And faith is really trust. It's trust that all unfolds as it should. It's trust that God is only good and that everything comes in its own time. And that's not always easy, but that really is our goal. Great faith is a belief that God can do almost anything. And there are some examples of that in the Bible that I could only hope to achieve. One is the centurion that came to Jesus and he asked for healing for one of his servants. And Jesus said, "Go on your way, let it be done for you as you have believed." So just that man's faith created that healing. But there are other examples where faith is not so easy to follow. One of them is when Peter was out on the rough sea and he saw Jesus on the water, and Jesus said, "Come to me, Peter." And he took those first 2 or 3 steps and he was fine, but then he lost that faith and he began to sink. So I guess my point is that if Peter, who's in Jesus' presence, had trouble with faith, we might sometimes have trouble as well. But I do know that that our faith grows day by day as we practice it. So that's what we really need to focus on. Excuse me, I have a sticky page here. So patience is a virtue that can help us find faith, because in patience you possess your souls. I mean, patience really allows us to not fly off in a million directions, not to overreact, to be able to step back and look at a situation without passion, but hopefully with more of a spiritual insight. You know, most of you realize that I'm a follower of a lot of the writings of Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce said that the 3 dimensions that we actually live in are not the 3 dimensions of a physical world, but they are time and space and patience. And he said patience is what actually allows us to understand what goes on in time and space. So that's a pretty exciting thought to me. So, you know, patience is really this idea that everything may not appear perfect today, but we know that in time, it will come to fruition as it's meant to be, and that we have the strength to endure today and continue working towards what we hope will happen, because we have that patience. We don't need to see everything happen today. So another one of these fruits is long suffering, which is really a crazy one. Who wants to be suffering for a long, long time? But that's not exactly what it means. It's actually a type of active patience. It's saying that things will come to fruition in the proper time. And, you know, just like you can't plant seeds today and harvest tomorrow, and you can't take up the piano today and then play Carnegie Hall tomorrow, unless you're Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, because that was one of my favorite scenes when he walked into that piano teacher for the first time and just played perfectly. That was great. But that's just this idea that we can put up with things that are less than perfect, while we're being patient to see how God's plan unfolds for our lives. Now, meekness was a very interesting word. Meekness does not mean weakness. Meekness is more like humility. It's knowing that we alone accomplish nothing, but with Spirit, great things can be done. And this was very interesting to me. Meekness comes from the Greek word praus, P-R-A-U-S. The word means power brought under control. So it's used often to describe breaking a wild horse that is now trained to the bridle. So when you talk about meekness, we are really talking about ourselves subduing our will to God's will. And no wonder Jesus said the meek shall inherit the earth. If we have the ability to bring our own power under control, we can do great things. So if you don't think that it's important to recognize that it's the Christ within that does the work rather than ourselves, look to Moses, because when Moses was leading the Israelites in the desert, they became desperate. They were sure that they were going to die. It had been a long, long time, and they were out of water. They were thirsty. They were afraid their livestock were going to die. And Moses and Aaron stood before them, and Moses was angry, you know, and he said, "Listen, you rebels, should Aaron and I bring forth water out of this rock for you?" And then he struck the rock twice with his staff, and water poured out, and they were able to quench their thirst and give water to their livestock. But this lack of humility, this idea that he is the one that brought the water forth, cost him dearly, because this is what God decreed. Because you failed to sanctify me in the eyes of the Israelites, you shall not be allowed to lead your people into the land that I have given them. So that lack of humility, that act of claiming that he was doing the work and not God, cost him the ability to move into the promised land. So I don't think we want that. So let's try to remember to be humble. There's a few quotes on humility that I thought were very good. He who accomplishes the most brags the least. They are secure in their worthiness. And this one, true merit is like a river. The deeper it is, the less noise it makes. So I wish we had some politicians that would understand that. So that's crazy. So one last thing about humility is that, you know, there was that one instance in the Bible where the apostles were actually arguing over who was the greatest apostle. And they went to Jesus to try to get the answer. You know, it's like, pick me, you know. And he said, let me find it here. Whoever humbles himself as a little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So humility really is a virtue worth striving for. So there's also another quote that I enjoy a lot, and this has to do with being humble as well, but there is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us that it doesn't pay for any of us to think poorly about the rest of us. So try to remember that when you get angry at someone else. So we're getting close to the end of this list. Peace is one that's still left. You know, peace comes from within. You do not find it from without. That's a quote directly from Buddha. But I like this quote. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the ability to cope with conflict. So that's something to strive for. Inner peace casts out fear. It enables us to radiate joy and kindness and to do unto others as we'd have them do unto us. So having that peace allows us to be settled, and it allows us to get rid of that fear within, because if we don't have peace, we're probably acting out of fear at some level. Fear that something's going to happen that we don't like and that we're trying to control, when in reality we probably have no true control over it. So lastly is joy. Joy helps make us feel alive, and it's something that we really want to share with others. When we're joyful, we really want to be with other people and to share that joy. Mark Twain said, "Grief can take care of itself, but to get the full value of joy, you must share it with someone." And Oprah said, "I define joy as a sustained sense of well-being, an internal peace, and a connection to what matters." So we might think you can find joy in a brand new car or, you know, a big trip or whatever, but it really is a connection to people, and it's a connection to what really matters. That's what really brings us a sense of joy that is never ending, that's ongoing. And I'll end with a poem about joy. I just thought it was kind of interesting. If I can find my last page. There we go. Joe Thompson wrote this: "May you always find joy in the laughter of children. May you always find joy in the work that you do. May you always find joy in the people you cherish. May you always find joy in you. May you always find joy in the change of the seasons, the touch of a lover, the smile of a friend. May you always find joy where you least do expect it, and may the joy that you feel never end. And the joy that you feel is a note in the music of the song that the angels sing in God's praise. It's a song that will echo through all of creation, from the start to the end of our days." So, thank you very much for not walking out on me today. That's very reassuring. For our meditation today, I'm really going to just talk through these words that are the fruits of the Spirit, and just let's focus on those and the feeling that they can bring to us, okay? So let's close our eyes if you're so moved, and we'll spend the next 5 minutes in a guided meditation. So let's just take a nice deep breath, feel your body relax. Take another deep breath and just allow the thoughts of your mind to just fade away. Just with each breath, feel love flow through us. As we feel love, we're able to accept others, to see their best intentions. We're strong enough to forgive. We can accept others as they are, knowing that we're all children of God. We feel love flow through us, and we can release resentment, frustration. We feel calm and settled and present. And with each breath, we can feel a sense of gentleness flow through us. We are open to listen. We listen first and allow kindness to flow through us, forgiveness. We release judgment. We allow ourselves to appreciate what's positive and good in ourselves and in every situation and in everyone we know. And we can breathe in faith. Faith knowing that we can trust that all is well. That we can sense that peace within us. Faith allows us to accept that everything is happening for a reason. We can use that sense of faith to know that God gives us the strength to endure. God gives us the strength to move through each experience. And we grow stronger as we move through and out of each experience. So again, let's just keep our minds quiet and just feel peace flow through our bodies, knowing that we are present and that God is present. In that peace, we can feel contentment that is satisfaction and a life well lived. A joy that we are connected to spirit, that we are sustained in that sense of peace. That there are new experiences each and every day. There are new viewpoints, new insights, new discoveries. We know we have this joy because we experience that connection with each other and with God. We can come back now to the present with that feeling that we know we are calm and peaceful and present, and God is here with us and with all. Amen. Okay, this is the time that we will have our offering. Now, for those of you at home, at the end of the service, I will put up the information for how you might be able to give online or through the mail. But in the meantime, let's hold our gifts in our hands. And we will not be passing the basket today, but instead we have the donation basket on the exit through the back section of the chapel. And please feel free to put your donation in there as you exit. So let's offer up our prayer. There is no lack or limitation. Freely I give, and freely I receive from God's abundance. I am blessed as I give, and unity is blessed in receiving. All right, I would like to share one last song with you. Help me to be holy. Help me to be holy me. Help me to express my every possibility. For I can't be another, can't be anyone but me. So help me to be holy, help me to be wholly me. I look around this world I see, try to disregard what appears to be. Release these thoughts of judgment, they return so easily. Help me release these thoughts of lack. If I falter, pull me back. Help me to see this world with thoughts of love. Help me to be holy. Help me to be holy. Help me to express my every possibility. I can't be another, can't be anyone but me. So help me to be holy, help me to be holy me. Help me to celebrate each day. If I wander, show the way. Fill my heart with light. Give me words to say. In the quiet, calm my fear, reassure me you are near. Help me to see the world, all thy love. Help me to be holy, help me to be holy. Help me to express my every possibility. I can't be another, can't be anyone but me. So help me to be holy, help me to be holy me. Thank you. All right, so we do have a class being offered here at the church, the center. That is next Saturday, is that correct? It is called The 5 Love Languages, Evolving for Our Current Times. Social distancing has presented a challenge to most, if not all, of these expressions of love, and we are feeling the effects in our minds, hearts, and bodies. So let's evolve, generate some love, and heal. So please sign up at the office by calling there. The cost is $10, and due to social distancing, we may have to move the class to a larger space, but that depends on the number of people that are interested. So please, yes?
It goes from 11 to 1.
Okay, 11 to 1 next Saturday. Do you have any other announcements? No. Oh, this is the first Sunday of the month, so we just want to wish happy birthday and happy anniversary to all of our July celebrants. Do we have anybody with a birthday or an anniversary this month? You must all be watching from home. Well, happy birthday. Yes. Oh, did I miss one? Okay. Well, congratulations. So I think we'll skip the singing because we're not supposed to sing with them. Okay. Okay. So we'd like to close with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome job, Kevin.
Thank you.
Kevin,
Yes.
we are not having coffee or refreshments.
Okay, fair enough. No, no coffee or refreshments.
Good job. Thanks.
Super. Super duper.
I'm not sure.
It was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty good.
What thing? Not enough soda for the coffee. Well, you're sure.
Yeah, but you know, it'll happen one day, and one day it'll be. Yeah.
You be around here.
Right. And it's-